Finns drink more coffee than anyone else in the world, but their coffee culture might not be what you expect. Today, I'm uncovering what makes Finnish coffee unique with Varpu from her Finland. We'll talk about why filter coffee reigns supreme, the surprising way Finns enjoy their coffee, and stick around because by the end of this episode, Varpu will be kind enough to teach us how to order coffee like a true Finn.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. So my name is Varpo, and I'm the founder of Her Finland, and that is I'm everywhere on every social platform that you can think of with my brand, and I teach people get to know Finland wherever they are in the world. So my popular topics are food culture, Finnish language, and the quirky habits that we Finns have in Finland, and traveling, of course, because Finland is a beautiful country and everybody should visit it.
Absolutely. I visited Finland. I was last year, I went there in August, and I was surprised how beautiful it is. And I don't think it's like at the top of the travel itineraries for everyone, but it really should be. And I grew up in Europe, and I thought like, okay, yeah, Finland, I know about it, country of thousand lakes and forests. But when you're there, you really start appreciating how special it is in terms of its culture and the natural beauty and everything else. So definitely everybody should visit Finland. And when they do, they should learn Finnish from you so they can start appreciating the culture even more.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
so yeah, no worries. We met because I took part in what is called the 90-day Finn program. This is where one of the organizations in Finland, in Helsinki, called Helsinki Partners, invite a number of people to come to Helsinki and Finland to get a taste of what it would be like to live and work in the country. And so I actually spent 4 months in there, and I had a wonderful experience. And this is how we met with Varpu. She came to Helsinki Partners office, and she gave us I would say, very non-traditional language lesson that worked really well.
Thank you so much. It was such a great class having you and everybody in the group joining. And I would have to say that unorthodox way of teaching is my jam, because I like to take cultural insights into a learning language and learning it through practice and learning it through mythology and all the fun things. Because for me and how I like to teach it, language is just a tool. And the biggest point is connecting with other people.
Yeah, yeah. And to this day, I remember that bear is karhu, because you made us pick like an animal and learn about it and why it's important to Finland. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yes, the national animal of Finland, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I have a few questions prepared for you. As you know, I talk about coffee culture. And I think as busy parents, we all appreciate it. I decided to do a whole series on Finnish coffee culture because, to my surprise, it's very unique and very interesting. So I prepared a few questions, and I thought maybe you could help me answer them and kind of dive deeper about like why Finns drink so much coffee.
Let's do
Sounds
this.
good?
Yes, this is the number one topic. We love coffee in Finland, and let's dive in.
Cool. So first question I have for you is, I think it's 12 kilo per person on average that Finns drink. So it's most coffee per capita in the whole world. Why do you think it is that it is in Finland that you drink the most coffee?
This is a fantastic question. It's part of the culture and it's part of practical things, in my opinion. So let's start by saying that the Finnish tap water is the best in the world. And that's why you take a lot of water to your coffee. And that's why the coffee in Finland tastes the best in the entire world. That's my opinion, because we have the best water. So that's
That
one thing.
that makes sense.
The second thing is that culturally, coffee has been woven into the culture for so many hundreds of years that it's hard to make a difference with when you are talking about Finnish hospitality. You cannot separate it from coffee drinking. It's so interconnected. And the third reason, in my opinion, is that we have the full kind of light and sunshine throughout the summer months, but then we have the darkness of the winter months, and then you need literally all the pick me up tools that you can have. So that is why I think also coffee is so popular in Finland.
That's really thoughtful response, and I can attest to. I was there in November and December, and by 9 a.m. it was still dark, and I definitely needed lots of coffee to just kind of get me through that because I didn't expect how it would make me feel tired. Yeah, yeah. Okay, interesting. I love the point that you made about the water because the quality of water is fantastic, and that makes a difference for sure too. So, taking it a little bit more personal, how many cups of coffee do you drink on average?
Yes, so I drink one huge cup in the morning and then one smaller cup after lunch. And then I try not to drink anymore after that because it does affect my sleep. So that is personally how I like to do it.
Yeah, and would you say that's pretty common for other people, or are you an outlier?
Maybe I am a little bit on the uh, like less, like I'm not a huge coffee drinker. I used to be, especially when my child was younger. I was drinking easily 5 cups a day, but now I have tried to put my addiction a bit lower. So this is where I'm at the moment. And I would say most people drink slightly more, I would say,
Yeah,
because we
it,
you
I
have
think
to
it
kind of think
averages at
about,
4 cups.
yes, so it's like four to
Yeah.
five cups. But I do have to say I think mine is three because the size of my morning cup is like a bucket.
Aha, I see. Okay. So okay, on the topic of bucket then. I was very surprised when I came to Finland that filter coffee is so popular. I
Yes.
didn't expect that. Everywhere you go, offices, conferences, um, lunch, you get filtered coffee, like instead of like espresso. So, in your opinion, what is it that makes filter coffee so popular in Finland?
I think the filter coffee is because of the water quality. So that's how we grew up doing coffee. And of course, before filter coffee, we had something called pannukahvi, which means pan coffee, which means that there is a pan of the kind of the kettle, and then you actually put the powder inside, and then you put lots of water, and then you drink that, and all the coffee, grounded coffee, goes at the end, or at the, how do you say that, the below part of the kettle.
Yeah, at the bottom, yeah.
And what is interesting, in my opinion, is that in Finland we kind of drink light roasted coffee. I think it's more about there's lots of water in your coffee, so it's more subtle, and I think it's used to it comes from the fact that the water quality is so good, and how we traditionally have made it before the filter machines arrived.
Right, right. So basically, it was a habit. You would see your grandparents, parents drink like that, and then you don't think about it when you go make your coffee. Well, this is how you make it. Yeah. Okay. Um, Now, you said that you really like to travel. When you think about the Finnish coffee culture and the coffee cultures or habits that you've experienced in other countries, what would you say makes the Finnish one unique?
Ooh, this is a good question. There are so many tiny things. Well, first of all, I would say that when you ask someone for a coffee in Finland, it is so interconnected in the culture that it actually means, it can also mean that you are asking them on a date. So it's really important to understand the context when you are asked for a cup of coffee, because it can literally be that you are being asked for a kind of proper date.
I remember you said this during the lesson, and we were all in disbelief from other countries around the world that to us going for a lunch or dinner would be more of a ask to go on a date, and coffee felt more casual. You can ask anyone.
Yes, coffee
So,
in Finnish culture is actually an intimate situation. So if I were to ask a colleague at work for a coffee, well, first of all, they would need to understand if I'm asking them for an actual date or not. But also that is a bit more intimate situation. And as Finnish people, many of us are introverts. It can be quite intimidating for a Finnish person. So, for example, if you were to ask me, how do you befriend a Finn, and what would you suggest to do on a kind of first meetup, I would say ask to go on a run or a jog with them, because then you're both looking at the same direction and you're not staring at each other, which is quite intimidating for many Finns. And that is literally what you do on a coffee date. So that's why
yeah, it,
kind
it
of
makes
a
sense.
jog is much more less intimidating for a Finnish person. But a coffee date, even if it's just like meeting and becoming a friend, that is kind of a bit too scary.
Okay. And on this topic of coffee drinking being kind of more of an intimate occasion, where would you where do people drink coffee most of the time, I guess?
Yes. So then another interesting habit is that in Finnish workday, we have two assigned coffee breaks. So typically, if you are working at an office, and let's say you come to work at 8 a.m. in the morning, you will have your first coffee break around 9, and that is 10 minutes. And then everybody kind of tends to group in the common kitchen area. There's like cafeteria and have their coffee there. And then there's lunch at 11ish or somewhere between 11 and 12. And then after lunch, you can have your coffee as a dessert again. And then around 2, there is another coffee break. And then you have again a communal, often in silence, communal coffee break where you drink coffee.
And, and these are scheduled coffee breaks?
In many, I've worked in many companies throughout my corporate years, and yes, we all go together. But
Okay,
it's not,
because
but it's not like a lively, like everybody is talking and loud. It's like very
okay.
subtle. Everybody is like calm, collected, very like silent Finnish style. There can be like tiny, small conversations, but it's still like communal thing. And that's why part of my cultural education is always understanding that from a Finnish point of view, we have 3 types of silence in Finland. We have positive communal silence, we have neutral communal silence, and then we have negative kind of awkward silence. And you kind of, as a Finn, you are kind of, you can read the room and know which type of silence this is. So I would definitely say that it's like a neutral, positive silence when you are having a coffee break together in the communal kitchen with only a little bit of like simple conversations here and there, or even enjoying it together in silence.
That is so interesting because when I compare it to my experience, and I worked in corporate settings, so going back when I was working in London, for example, the place where, like in the canteen where we could make coffee, that would be the loudest place. Or when I think about coffee break, whenever would someone stand up and think like, you know what, I really need coffee, then you would ask someone, hey, do you want to go for a coffee? And then you would go, but it's very spontaneous. Like that's what I was, I guess, trying to understand is that is there literally a time for you to have a coffee and that's your assigned time?
Yes, there's like internal clock, and
Oh my
everybody
goodness,
goes.
that's funny. That's like in a school in a way.
Yes, I think it's. I think I am thinking if I've ever seen a written instruction about it. I probably haven't, but I think whenever, like even when I was taking a summer job when I was 17 or 18, then you are just like, and at 2 we have the coffee break, like when you are getting introduced to the job. So
Yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
is
It's
there.
just thing you do. That's really interesting. And so, would this be similar to fika, which I think comes from Swedish? Is a Swedish term, right?
Yes, I think there are many similarities to the Swedish fika culture and the Finnish coffee culture, but I wouldn't know to exact detail where do they differ. But that's a super interesting kind of cultural thing. Also brings me an idea that I want to discuss this with a fellow content creator from Sweden.
Yeah. Um, I remember when we were during the 90-day Fin program going and visiting various companies and organizations. Everywhere they would have coffee ready for us, which was very much appreciated. They also have the cinnamon buns, which I think you call korvapusti.
Hmm.
And
Indeed.
they were delicious, but they were everywhere. It was almost dangerous because how do you say no? So, is this something that people grab some sort of pastry every time they have a coffee on this coffee break, or not really?
So you can definitely pair your coffee with something sweet, and pulla or korvapuusti, both meaning kind of pulla is the umbrella term for all kind of buns, and then korvapuusti is a specific squirrely shape. So this is the most traditional thing that you can have with your coffee, and it's delicious. The way we do it in Finland is the again best in the world, I have to say. I'm a huge kind of lover of buns. So
They're delicious.
you can definitely have them, but I think also um, many people can have their kind of more healthier option, like a fruit or just a plain coffee. So there is no rule. You never have to take a bun, even if you are offered. So there is no pressure for that to happen. But it's very classic, I have to say.
Okay. Um, so we discuss workplaces, we discuss asking for coffee could potentially mean you're asking someone on a date, the quality of the water. How about, I have this concept in my mind of when I want to meet a friend, often we
Mhm.
meet for a cup of coffee
Mhm.
outside of our home. So I guess there are two questions in this. Do you meet your friends in a coffee shop? And is that like a place for friendly chats? And the other question would be if you are at home, or like, do you kind of invite your friend home for a coffee to your place instead of like going to a public one? Yeah.
That's a great question. So, getting invited to a Finnish home is definitely a testimony to the intimacy that your friendship has. So, we definitely see our friends or new friendships often start from outside of your home, but it's also very popular to have your friends over. And when you have a friend or friend who is coming to your house, you always invite them. Like, would you like to have a cup of coffee? And then as Finnish trademark is being modest, you often reply to this like, oh no, you don't have to make the coffee for me. And then of course we make the coffee for everybody. But it's like,
Okay, there
we
has to
often
be a
say
little
like,
back and forth.
yeah, it's a little bit back and forth, and you must say like, oh, if you are not making to yourself, then do not make it for me. So it's really cute. I love this tiny thing. And then we often, when you have somebody over, we have a bun or some kind of tasty dish accompanying it. It can be also a savory one. One of the favorites is Karjalan piirakka, so the rice pie that is really popular in Finland, which has a rye crust and rice pudding in between. It's delicious, coming from Karelia district. And then you put a little bit of this butter egg on top, or then you have those buns. But if you are going to an if you are going like old school traditional Finnish coffee, kind of that people are asking you for coffee, and let's say it would be my great aunt in her 80s, I would be welcomed by this amazing buffet table of 7 treats.
Wow.
Because this is a very big sign of hospitality in Finland. So you would have 7 different treats with your coffee.
That sounds delicious and amazing at the same time. And it has to be 7 because 7 is a pretty good number, I guess. Okay.
Yes. There is like it's a thing to have those seven things. And then my great aunt would be watching there and making sure that you taste everything. So you cannot, if you want to go there with a full stomach, you cannot let them know that you're coming, because they will prepare so much food that you are in food coma afterwards. So you have to go there only if you announce that you're going. You have to be very, very hungry so that you can do that. But that is I think one of this. So my great aunt is from Karelia, Karjala area, which is very, very famous for this amazing Finnish food culture and hospitality. So it's kind of part of, especially for this region, and also for my other grandmother's region, which is in the western side. These are the 2 most popular food regions in Finland. So I was kind of raised in the middle. So there is so much goodness coming from both of those areas. So this would be something that happens. Then, but when it's like more younger generations, we don't have the pressure of offering 7 things anymore.
Okay, yeah, that is more casual. But I still do the dance of like, don't worry about that. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
And you never, ever, ever microwave coffee in Finland.
Oh, yeah, who does that? That sounds
Some of
horrible.
my friends do, and that is funny.
Okay.
This is the ultimate dream. This is the ultimate nightmare.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So I didn't know about Moomins before I came to Finland. And then I discovered them, then my kids discovered them, and I don't know today who loves them more. Probably me. But I recently discovered that a lot of Finns have a Moomin cup for their coffee at home. Is that true?
Yes, I think this is one of the most common things that everybody has in Finland. So we have these amazing, adorable, collectible Moomin mugs that have been available for so many years. So people started collecting them, and now almost everybody has several options to choose from at their home. And it's really cute. It's kind of a way of saying that you're Finnish without saying that you're Finnish.
Okay. I didn't know they were collectible, so that makes it even more fun. Yeah, and it kind of makes you like, coffee is already a happy occasion, and then of course you're looking at the cute Moomin makes your day probably.
Yes, absolutely. Moomins are such a big part of Finnish culture, and I don't know anybody who doesn't love them. They are the best.
Yeah. So what's the strangest or funniest thing about coffee habits? And we might have already kind of touched up on that. Is there anything else that you would say is surprising for someone who's never been to Finland?
I think the dating throws people like off. So that
Yes.
is the number one thing. But from old ways, and I wish I would have a plate with me right now, but I don't. So I'm going to demonstrate it with this
Okay.
wooden plate. So back in the day, this is a big cup. Back in the day, we had smaller cups, and then we had a saucer plate to go with it, and it has a little bit of curved these sides. So people would not actually drink from this coffee cup; they would actually pour it to the saucer, and then they would drink like this. So this is an old way, very old school way of drinking
Really?
coffee. Yes,
Why?
I think. And do not make me suffer if I'm thinking this wrongly, but I think it's due to the fact that how I told you how the coffee was made in the old days in the kettle. When you pour it to a cup, it still has those little grounded pieces. So then you have like this natural two filters, because then it will be here at the bottom of your cup. And when you take just a tiny sip here, then it doesn't get those tiny specks of coffee, grounded coffee in there. That's my best attempt to explain it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought the only thing that came to my mind is like to make it cooler faster.
No, that might be also. That's so smart.
Maybe both.
I think you're onto something for sure. For sure.
So putting my parent hat on is like, how do I not burn my?
I think you are more
Yeah.
correct than I am, actually. Well done. Yeah, that must be it, actually.
We covered so many topics and interesting things, but we also promised people that we would teach them how to order coffee in Finland. So if they're now thinking, I love coffee and I absolutely have to visit Finland, the moment they get off the airplane, how do they order it?
Yes. So there is no please in Finnish culture. So this is really short and sweet. You can just say yksi kahvi, which means one coffee, and that's it. And you make it sound polite with your intonation. Yksi kahvi. Or if you are British or anyone else who feels like, oh, I need to have this please, then you can say kiitos, which actually means thank you in Finland, but you can substitute please with it. So yksi kahvi, kiitos. And that's it.
Yksi kahvi, kiitos. Yeah, it feels almost wrong without saying.
I know.
And what if I want something? So kahvi is coffee. What would they give me if I say yksi kahvi? Would they
It's
just pour
one.
the filter coffee?
Yes. You would get filter coffee, and then you would put your own amount of milk and sugar if you are using any of those. They are on the corner, they are on the side, and then you mix your own. And then the way to ask for coffee and bun is kahvi ja pulla. Kahvi ja pulla, kiitos.
Kahvi ja pulla. Like, there's no excuse not to speak Finnish almost, because it's like you just say one or two words and you're already speaking.
Exactly. That's what I love about Finnish, because you literally make everything sound polite with your intonation.
Yeah, and like I was born in Slovakia, and in Slovak, you do have word for please and thank you, but you don't use them as often as in English. But again, like exactly by your manners, by the tone of your voice, you imply how you are like treating the other person. Yeah. So I kind of understand, but it still threw me off that there was no word for please.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. This was a fantastic chat. Is there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to share with us?
I think you are a coffee pro now.
I'm far from it. But I visit lots of coffee shops, and what can I say? I enjoy it.
That's so great to hear.
Thank you, Varpo. Thanks for teaching us. Thanks for sharing about Finland and its culture and its coffee culture. Really good to see you again, even though this was digitally.
Yes, likewise. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. If you enjoyed my chat with Varpu, I have a whole documentary series about Finnish cafes and coffee culture. I'll leave the link in the description and on the screen. Enjoy!